So, welcome everyone to our Career 101 beginning the job search session, first one of 5. We're going to be talking a little bit about narrowing down career interests after graduation, networking, and the beginning steps about finding a job. My name is Leah Bentfield. I am part of the Next Generation Scholars Program at the Positive Schools Center over at UMB. I am joined with Taylor and Julia, two of my co-program managers, and we're excited to be here today. So feel free to pop off mute if you have any questions at any time or drop them in the chat, and Julia or I will field them. With that, we can jump to the first slide. Let me organize a little bit. Awesome. All right, so we are going to talk a little bit about what the agenda is going to look like today. We're going to start with kind of just narrowing down how to even begin job searching, because it can feel really, really overwhelming to kind of jump into a field that you may or may not have a lot of experience in. We're going to talk about the importance of organization and what that looks like even before you start applying to jobs. The importance of networking and how significant networking can expand your opportunities starting right now, and then putting it all together and jumping in, starting those searches. Taylor, next slide. So we're using a lot of information from Can I Wear My Nose Ring to the Interview by Ellen Gordon Reeves. And she starts off this information session with no job has to last forever. And with the right attitude, you should be able to glean valuable skills and contacts from any position. Skills and contacts that will prepare you for your next move. So you might join a job, you might last a couple years and then want to do something differently. But no matter what that position is, you should be able to get that valuable experience to help propel you into your next whatever adventure you're getting yourself into. So we're going to start with what interests you. When you first narrow down what kind of jobs you're interested in applying to, it can feel really overwhelming. So taking some time to really kind of reflect on the experiences that you've done in the past. What have you enjoyed doing? What are you looking for in a job? So that could be just to make money. All right, that'll be a little bit different than something where you want to really challenge yourself to grow. What has seemed interesting to you? Maybe you've had a volunteer experience or you have a hobby that you would love to get paid for. That's a little different than having to go to a trade school where you're learning new skills and might take a little more planning to propel yourself into a career that you'll have for the next 10 years. How will it help you grow? Use it in the future? And where are you looking for jobs? So we're gonna skip to the next slide. Places to start. Your school counselor is a great person to start talking to about how to narrow down what your interests are. Same with a lot of assessments and inventories that you can do online. Career One Stop is a really basic interest assessment that is from collegeboard.com. It gives you a huge list. You answer a couple questions. It gives you a huge list of potential careers and what education requirements, what are the likelihood of that career growing in the future, and what steps you need to take in order to achieve that career goal. Same with Education Planner. So a career cluster, a little different. They give you, you answer a similar couple questions, and then it gives you healthcare or art, teaching, more broad overview of where your interests lie. And then you can kind of explore a variety of career opportunities based on that cluster. But there are a million different people that you can talk to, including teachers, parents, friends, a bunch of folks who are already in their career field that you can talk to about different opportunities and what those look like to get involved. And we're going to talk about networking a little bit today and how important that is. Any questions so far? Nope. Awesome. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about organization. Before you even start the job search, you're like playing around with these assessments. You're starting to narrow down what you're interested in and where you want to start. First thing you're going to do is make sure that you are organized. Email addresses and voicemails are the easiest place to start. Those are things that you can do today. First off, an email address that is appropriate and has potentially your name in it so that employers know who you are from the get-go. We have a variety of students that we work with emails that I would never recommend you emailing out to a teacher or a professional. Please have someone review your email name before you use it for applications. Same with a voicemail. If you have your own phone, make sure that you have a voicemail set up, number one, but also that it is an appropriate voicemail. Hello, my name is Leah. You've reached my voicemail. I can't come to the phone right now, and I would gladly leave or call you back if you leave your name and number. Something like that is good. You can affirm that you are the person they're trying to reach, as well as that you will call them back. If you share a phone, just having the number call back, hi, you've reached so-and-so, or you've reached 443-567-8888 is a totally fine voicemail, just making sure that you have a voicemail set up. Another thing that you can do, which might take a little more time, is checking out your online presence. When you Google yourself, what shows up? Your crazy TikTok from quarantine, your Facebook, Instagram, I don't know what y'all are on these days, but what shows up when you Google yourself? Something that we really like to push is that you can start a LinkedIn, which is like a professional Facebook page. I don't know, you can connect with people. You can post your resume, all these cool things with a LinkedIn, and it could be the first thing that pops up when people Google you, so that is what they're seeing and not some video from you in middle school. So making sure that you check what your online presence is and take note about what you can privatize, what you can remove, and what you want to show up first. Any questions about email addresses, phone, voicemails, or online presence? No? Awesome. So next up, we're going to be talking about resumes in another session because we can spend a full 30 minutes at least talking about the ins and outs of resume building. But having a resume prepared before you start your job search can make it much less stressful because all you have to do is type up a cover letter. We'll talk about that in another session. Drop your resume, and then you're done. You're waiting for that call back versus finding a job, knowing that you have to apply within a week, having to create a resume, doing school, maybe have another job, it gets stressful. So making sure that you're prepared with that documentation before you even start the job search can just make it easier on you. Lastly, documentation, making sure you write down where you've applied, the dates, so that you can follow up with them, making sure that you are around your phone and answering unknown phone calls, because you never know when someone's going to call and be like, hey, I'm looking for so-and-so. I want to talk to them about an interview. And then just getting names of people when they do call so that you can follow up with them. All right, Taylor, next slide. And we're going to throw it over to Julia.
All right. So thank you, Leah, for that wonderful introduction. So my name is Julia, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about networking, which is one of the most important, I think, aspects of looking for not just a job, but also, you trying to figure out what you like to do. Because once you do figure out maybe some of your interests, you're able to look at your network and see if there's anyone that can help you with that information. So, the importance of networking. So, one of the first things that Leah was talking about when you're applying to a job or looking for work, you might go on a website like monster.com, or you might just kind of like look for certain jobs just by typing it in, right? But it's important to remember that those job postings, that is only about 30% of the jobs that are posted, like that are seen online. 70% of the jobs that are actually out there are hidden. And the reason they're hidden is because sometimes they're done by word of mouth. So this is where networking actually comes in. The importance of it is that you might be able to talk to someone and they might say, hey, I know something that's, about this job. They have out here this position. They are looking for someone, but it hasn't been posted yet. So this is where networking comes into play. Next slide. So essentially networking is you figuring out where your network is. And so this is what it could be. So where is your network? It could be friends and family, immediate and extended. Maybe your mom or your guardian knows somebody who knows somebody. Maybe a friend has heard something, about a job that's around. So that's kind of like your friendship and your family. Your school, your peers, and your adults. So talking to your teachers, talking to our guidance counselor about what opportunities are out there. That is definitely a network you will want to use. Prior workplace experience. So if you had a job before, and maybe you definitely left on good terms, obviously, you might be asking like, hey, have you guys heard of any jobs out there? I'm looking for XYZ. So they can kind of help you or lead you in the right direction. Religious and or community groups. That's definitely sometimes an untapped resource of people who know things and know other people that can help you. Activities, clubs, and hobbies. I think that one of the things with the activities, clubs, and hobbies, of course, especially if you're looking for something that's in that kind of activity or hobby, this will be a really good opportunity to ask people who are doing this full time, do they know of any opportunities? You might actually look up and they themselves might be looking for someone. And then random people, which can sound kind of extra, but you never know who you're talking to, so it's always best to put your best foot forward. Things that could lead to jobs, informational interviews. That's when you essentially are reaching out and you're interviewing someone at a position or organization just to kind of like learn more information about what they do, what the organization does. And that can certainly, of course, like help your search. Internships. If you're able to internship or you are currently internshipping, making sure that you, of course, having a good experience, you're doing what you're supposed to do, because that can definitely lead to positions, but also just getting to know people in a wide variety of positions helps you in your kind of career journey. Volunteering is also another opportunity for you to learn what's out there, as well as build your network and talk to people, and just making sure that you kind of have your ear to the ground. And then job shadowing. So say you had a position and you or someone has a position that you admire, maybe you shadow them for a couple of days. It's a great way for you to really know the people, what they do. Like I said, it keeps your ear to the ground. Next slide.
Oh, go back for just a second. I just had
Oh,
one.
go ahead.
Um,
Go ahead.
with our virtual world as well, as frustrating as
Mm-hmm.
many things are, being able to jump into an informational interview or a job shadow is significantly easier. You're not bound by
Mm-hmm.
the school day or even being in Baltimore and trying to get somewhere to talk to someone. This is a really
Absolutely.
good opportunity to, if you know of your mom knows someone in North Carolina who does something that you're maybe interested in. It's so easy to call up people now and be able to talk to them just face to face over Zoom, as an exploring way to kind of figure out what you want to do. So making sure to utilize this virtual environment for all the benefits as well.
Absolutely. Yes, the virtual world has made it a little bit easier to research, as well as kind of opens up your opportunities to talk to people. So that's why having that voicemail and having that appropriate email address is going to be something that comes in handy in the in the coming months, but just like in general, but definitely around this time. I think we can go to the other slide now. Okay. So one of the things that a way for you to exercise you could do to kind of figure out who your network is this simple circle here that we have. So you would make a circle with you, your name in the middle, another circle kind of another circle around it. And then you can kind of map out your own network and what you have right now. So you can put it in 4 quadrants of who's your network in school, out of school, at home, and your friends and your community. And then you can start listing off names of people who kind of fit into these different little boxes. So who's in school that you know? Maybe it's a teacher, a guidance counselor, maybe it's the principal. Maybe out of school, it's some other folks who that you know, maybe those kind of random people that you've met, some folks from different positions or volunteer opportunities. At home, it could be, family that you know that might have opportunities or might know of opportunities that can help you out. And then friends and community. So talking more about what maybe your church or a sports team you're a part of, or any kind of, other activities you do outside of school could really help with that friends and community part. So once you have done and written the names out of each quadrant, if there's anything that's left, if you notice maybe you don't have a lot of names in the out of school portion, or you don't have a lot of names in the in school portion, you know that you should build that group up. So maybe it's going around and talking to your teachers and seeing who you need to introduce yourself to. We at Next Gen are always telling our students that talking to your teachers and your guidance counselor is a really, really important thing to do. So maybe that's what that is. Maybe at home, it's, talking to folks in your household or in your family a little bit more intently about jobs and job searching and networking. So that could also be what you do. So it's an activity maybe you can do outside or after this presentation. Are there any questions? I'm assuming that Leah is fielding questions in the chat. And then next slide, networking etiquette. So, we've kind of given you some information about why networking is important, and ways or places that you could network. And then we've given you an exercise of what you can do to figure out where your network is and maybe where you need to work on your networking. But there is some etiquette and some rules of things that you should do when you are reaching out to people, when you are speaking to people. For one, communicate your focus. So this comes into play, especially with knowing your interests. So being able to tell people what you're looking for, what you want to do, why you're interested, being able to communicate with people about what your kind of ultimate goal is, that is going to be the first thing that you need to do. So of course, that first part of the presentation of figuring out your interests is going to be paramount. For number 2, being prepared. So having all your ducks in a row, having all the information is going to be important. So making sure that you know who you're going to be talking to, what orgs you're going to be reaching out to, just kind of having yourself together is going to be important when you're networking. Foolproof your emails. First step, of course, is making sure that you have an email, making sure that it's a proper email address, not anything that's going to, someone's going to look at it and be like, this person is not serious. Making sure that you are editing and looking for spelling issues or errors, that you are essentially being respectful and that your emails are foolproof. You don't want any issues that are going to trip you up. And so emailing, especially now during the pandemic, is the name of the game. You want to make sure that you have that together. Don't go too high up the food chain. So with this one, I know when I first started, of course, looking for jobs, sometimes you can email the CEO of a company, which is great if you want to do that. But I would recommend, if you're looking for a position maybe in I don't know, like program management, maybe you email the person who is in charge of programs. So just being able to know who to contact, looking on people's websites, and then kind of just like talking to those like and who you know. So making sure you're not going too far up where it gets ignored, but you can maybe talk to someone who can definitely get your foot in the door. Following up, that's the main thing. Because I know that sometimes, especially in a kind of a virtual world, you can contact people and everyone is really busy. And so just making sure if you emailed someone maybe a few days ago, you give them some time to look at their email, but then you follow up with them. If they get back in contact with you, don't let the email just sit there or the phone call just sit there. Making sure that you're using different modes of communication to follow up about your request. And then be appreciative. If you're using your network, say a friend helps you out and gives you someone's contact information, I like to say don't assume it's going to get you a job automatically, but to be appreciative and like approach it as just like, I really appreciate this opportunity. This is really awesome. It gives you an opportunity to learn more and to learn as you go. So be appreciative when you are using your network. You don't want to overuse it or kind of abuse it. It's a problem. So I would also just say make sure that you practice all of these things. Practice these things with your teachers, with your counselors, at your school, or Victoria, maybe that she could help. So you have people at your disposal who can talk to you more about networking and how you can actually use it in your favor. Next slide. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about looking for your interests. So talked about networking. We talked about a bunch of different things. So we want to make sure putting all this together, right? So for one, explore your interests, figure out what you want to do. And here's the thing, it doesn't just have to be one thing, but I would definitely take each interest and dedicate some time to it in separate ways. So maybe you're interested in being a science teacher, and then also maybe you're interested in working in a lab. And so making sure that you have those interests and you're making a plan for each of them and who you're going to contact. Begin networking, ask around to see what's available for each of those things, talking to people, doing that networking exercise, and seeing what's available and out there for you to get the experience that you want. Then you want to narrow down your preferences and begin the online search using websites, Indeed, ZipRecruiter, LinkedIn, and Monster, and then checking directly on the website of the places you want to work. There's usually a job section on most organizations' web pages, so that's definitely a place. And also social media. Sometimes folks post.
Julia, we can't hear you. Phone stopped working. Great. I apologize. I'm gonna drop some links in. That's what I was focused on. So narrowing down, we were talking a little bit about where they're posting these job links on their website, on their social media, and on a variety of different websites. And then last but not least, preparing for the steps for when you actually submit your application. And that is what the next couple sessions will be about. We will be talking about resumes, cover letters, how to be professional as you approach an interview, but also what just professionalism looks like in general when you are presenting yourself as a potential applicant. Do we have any questions? This is kind of the end of this. We want to provide you with a couple minutes to do the assessments that are in the chat, or if you feel pretty confident in where you'd like to take next steps towards your career, we want you to take a minute and kind of map out your network. So what we did, can you go back to that one exactly? So take a minute, if you can just sketch out this circle and start figuring out who is in your network, where there might be some holes, who you really want to talk to as you start planning out the next steps of what you're going to do after graduation, or what you're going to do this summer, or what you're going to do after school. Any questions? All right.